Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kitbadger.com, out here to tell you about the 2024 Potluck shooting competition. We'll go ahead and start with what is it and why would you do it? Well, first of all, it's a potluck, so bring a dish and bring a course of fire. Why would you do that? Well, on the one hand, get to break bread with friends, always good, but when it comes to training and stuff like that, more often than not, if you go out to the range, you're like, hey, I'm gonna go work on this thing that's gonna stroke my ego. I'm gonna do the thing I'm good at. Versus maybe something that you don't spend time with because you're not very good at, which ironically you probably should spend more time with. And so you get to bring your own course of fire, which more often than not is something that you're actually pretty good at it because you're like, man, I want to go do this thing I'm good at, which is totally fine. But potluck format, you're probably going to get things that other people are good at that maybe you aren't. And so that's usually how that works out. So in, I guess it would be September 2024, met up with a couple friends, one of which, Bill Rapier, who was hosting it at the AMTAC Training Center, as well as another buddy, Jake Hoback from Hoback Knives, and another friend as well. So the four of us came together and we had all shot with Bill at the AMTAC Training Center, amazing facility. And the way it's set up is there's tons of targets all through a bunch of like dark timber, a bunch of cedars and stuff like that. Pistol as well as rifle targets, varying distances. So the idea being, hey, everyone knows kind of what we're working with. Come with some sort of course of fire and we'll shoot it. And that's exactly what we did. We started initially, Bill kicking us off with his course of fire, which kind of looking at all of them after the fact, probably the most technical one. And so it started out, you were going to be shooting rifle as well as pistol with a little bit of shotgun at the very end. But the way it was set up is from these different shooting positions, you would need to get a hit with every sighting system on your rifle, both strong side as well as other strong side. So lasers, optics, piggyback optics, whatever setup you had, you'd basically shoot through those, both shoulders, draw out your pistol, get hits before you could move on, which ended up being really technical because this course went on for a while. And for my own part, with my gun I was shooting, Honey Badger SD, things a ton of fun. I had two optic systems, so basically going back and forth between my day optic, the EOTech, as well as the SureFire XVL2-IRC with the green vis laser. Thing actually did really good, and yeah, it was fun, basically working through there and getting those hits. Eventually, when you got through and finished engaging from the last position, you'd go ahead, clear out your rifle, go grab the shotgun, load it up, and start kind of working back the other way with the shotgun, which no one had, other than Bill, I guess, no one had actually touched that gun. So it was like, hey, weapon familiarization, hopefully, like a student of weapon craft versus really good with your gun. And yeah, went through, shot those different targets. And then the way it ended, well, here's the thing. So Bill actually went first because whoever's stage it was, you go first. And then I think everyone else went through. I was doing some filming for Jake and our other buddy. And then it finally got to my turn. And I was like, man, Bill did not do the stage he briefed. I'm like, I'm gonna win his stage. So the way it worked out, the way he briefed it, I actually did it to where once you finished that last shotgun and got that hit, you had to self-apply a tourniquet on your leg, draw out your pistol, and get one hit, which basically finished the stage, which I did, and I won by a technicality. But he absolutely would have otherwise won. I think in raw time, he actually beat me, even though his pistol optic was not zeroed. He had just swapped it over, and he's like, I'm pretty sure. And it's like, no, definitely not zeroed. Still beat me as far as raw time, but really fun stage. Next stage was kind of a choose your poison. So you had to either go downhill and grab a magazine and loose rounds to load and come back up, which was definitely a shorter distance and not as steep of an incline, or you had to go uphill to grab a loaded magazine and come back down and then get hits on steel down at this kind of far end. Not terribly far, probably like, I don't know, between 50 and 70 yards or something, probably closer to 70 yards, I guess. But you had to get hits, and that was it. So kind of choose your poison. Keeping in mind, still nursing Achilles injury, I decided to go uphill. I figured it'd probably be easier. I don't know if it was or not, but that was the poison I chose. And so yeah, basically I had to go up there, grab this mag, come back down, and get hits, which I'm like, oh, that's pretty straightforward. It is definitely, it sounds a lot easier than it was, honestly. And yeah, it was definitely kind of a smoker stage. And the next stage actually was Jake's. Pretty fun little stage. It involved essentially some shooting, both rifle and pistol, and there was some movement involved. Again, just elevated heart rate, more shooting, and then he's like, oh yeah, you gotta use a sling. I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure I used a sling when I was like 7, but basically had to try and get a hit with the sling. Didn't work out honestly well for anyone, but it was fun to have thrown in there, just, yeah, something random. And yeah, finished out that stage. And finally we got to my stage, which honestly was terrible. I knew it was terrible. I came up with it, but it was good. I want to say it was a 5-minute par time, which I think all of them were largely a 5-minute par time, or that was, you had to work within those parameters. And yeah, it's called Don't Be Late. Really, it was know your engine. And so the way it started, you initially got a hit with rifle, transition to pistol, get your hit with pistol, and then there's this wonderful sandbag that weighs like 150 pounds. And because of terrain, everything like that, it's not something you'd probably want to try and throw on your shoulder, so you got to drag this thing. And you drag it up to your shooting position, get a hit with rifle, get a hit with pistol, and then drag it to the next shooting position. And the way it was structured was, again, know your engine, in that you had this time limit to work in, this 5-minute par time, but, if you did not get your last hit with your pistol, as well as your last hit with your rifle, and the sandbag was not in the designated spot, starting spot, again, course resets, then you had like a -6 hit to your score. And it was basically scored on how many hits. So how many hits on steel. Starting initially, you got 1, 2, go up to that first cone, 1, 2, now you're at 4. You see where it's going. So if you are late and you, yeah, -6, pretty significant. So hey, how far can you push it with respect to your ability? Keeping in mind, like, you can set your own timer, so you have an idea. No one's going to call out time for you. And yeah, figure it out. Terrible stage. Finally, of course, being a potluck, went back and yeah, had a bunch of wonderful food. Giant like charcuterie board, I think some hamburgers, and I brought some ice cream, homemade, which was wonderful. Really fun. All in all, it was just a really awesome time. And again, going back to what I was originally saying, the opportunity for all of those things. 1, get to actually share a meal with friends, and 2, get to, everyone does it like, man, hey, what am I pretty good at? I will say I'm pretty sure I definitely did not win my stage, but you largely, whether knowing or unknowingly, you'll build things around like, hey, what am I pretty decent at? Other people will do the same. And so when you come together with your friends, you'll usually see like, oh, well, this is not actually what I'm really good at, but it forces me into doing this thing. Hugely beneficial, I think. And like I said, just a lot of fun. But yeah, good time out there with good people. And as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.